out there. It's David Miller, Phoenix, Arizona multimedia artist, educator, and fitness trainer, I'm glad to say, and also INFP. INFP is a Myers-Briggs classification. It's called the mediator, the healer, introverted people who are very spontaneous and empathetic. We include in our ranks people like Vincent van Gogh, Kurt Cobain, John Lennon, writers like Neil Gaiman, Alan Moore, George Orwell, people who are very dreamy and imaginative, musicians like Fiona Apple.
I pay a lot of close attention to everything that happens to me and everything that happens around me, and so I absorb a lot of information, and not just, you know, factual information, but like emotional information even, you know. I pay attention a lot to how I feel about things, and when you pay attention to how you feel about things and you think about things a lot, you learn a lot about yourself, and when you know yourself, you know.
Very sensitive to the ways of the world, very spontaneous. Some would call us scatterbrained, but whether or not you're really into this sort of personality classification, it's a good conversation starter. And because we are so empathetic and we put so much of our values in our feelings, there's always going to be this point where, as idealistic as we're supposed to be on a regular basis, we feel really let down by the world, by ourselves, our friends, and sink into this deep depression. Every one of those artists I mentioned has a conversation somewhere online where I've been able to find them talk about their own depression. A lot of times it's at the height of their popularity. Tom York of Radiohead couldn't write or create after the release of OK Computer because of how much attention he was getting and how much pressure he felt to match the stuff that he's already done. Same with Neil Gaiman. Any one of those creative people, they have a wave and then this collapse of the wave. And they've been around long enough that you can see them usually come back from their waves. Unfortunately, a lot of people that I respect and know as INFPs, like musician Phil Oakes or Kurt Cobain, you know, they actually take their lives in their valleys at the bottom of whatever you want to call it, manic depression. And but many of the other creatives rise again. And if you've been around long enough, you kind of recognize this is something that's gonna happen repeatedly in your life. Maybe it has nothing to do with your creativity. Maybe it has to do with your personal relationships. You have a breakup, a falling out with a really close friend. You're broke, you're out of money. You have health issues that face you. There's a death that occurs. There's something in the world that affects you profoundly, like a pandemic or social injustice, and you just don't see hope. I'm 44 years old, and so I've seen this happen to myself over and over and over again. And I'm actually in a really good mood today, and so I felt like I would speak to this because one of the things that happens to me when I'm in my deep depression, my rock bottom state, is I tend to turn to YouTube and find people who have similar vibes to myself, and it's helpful when they classify themselves as INFP because I know we're coming from the same perspective usually, and I commiserate with them. I want to know what they faced and how they got through it, and I hope that this video finds somebody out there that needs to hear it in the way that I need to hear people similar to me describe their depression and how they overcame it when I'm at my lowest. I'm coming out of mine right now. This is like the beginning of December 2021. But, you know, I went through 2 months of strong self-isolation. A lot of days where it was very difficult to get out of bed, and I have not done a creative photo shoot, which is the kind of artwork that I'm known for mainly. I haven't done one of those in close to 3 months. I have done other things with my time in my life. I do want to get into the specifics of those, but I want to address kind of like everybody that's out there that's in this similar position and give some actionable steps that I think most people could use, because it's one thing to just sort of talk about depression and tell our stories. It's another thing to give like actual ways to combat it or befriend it or write it out as one does bad weather. So these are actionable steps if you find yourself at rock bottom. And I'm going to start with rock bottom, where you literally are unable to leave your bed, talk to anybody else. You're isolating and paralyzed. Maybe not necessarily physically paralyzed, but like spiritually, emotionally, mentally paralyzed. If you find yourself isolating in your bedroom, there's usually something in arm's reach that can alter your state, get yourself moving in one direction or another, whether it's mentally or physically. The thing that most of us have in arm's reach of our bed is our smartphone, and our smartphone is connected to the internet, and you can access YouTube. You can enjoy the music of your favorite artists, whether it's songs that you loved as a child, as a teen, as an adult, at your current stage. Music is the art form that most immediately grabs our emotions and is probably the most accessible art form there is. The most easily digestible art form, because it's in 3, 4, 5 minute stretches. One of the benefits of getting on YouTube, getting on Spotify, whatever it is that you access your videos and media through, is that you'll get these recommendations. You'll have a Discover Weekly on Spotify that'll have new music that might appeal to you. And this is a good way to sort of broaden your INFP mind, explore new things. YouTube suggests a lot of stuff that I don't care about, but it suggests a lot of stuff that I'm really interested in, didn't know. A lot of my favorite artists that I've been listening to for 20, 30 years, I didn't know they had a music video for this song, or I've never seen, let's say, Radiohead's Paranoid Android video. Never seen it before this year. I've known the song since 1997, just never watched the video. It's really cool. With the aid of music, if you're a creative person, and I'm sort of blanket addressing anybody who's in depression, but this is mainly geared towards INFP creatives who are feeling stifled, got their writer's block, so on and so forth. The things that are within reach of your bed that can stimulate creativity: sketchbooks, journals. I got a journal on my smartphone. It's called Day One. It's a great free journal app. You do a subscriber version that'll sync it across your multiple devices. But even when you don't feel like writing, opening up a journal and saying, woke up, don't know what to say, don't feel like writing, you've already accomplished something, and it's already gotten your juices flowing. If you don't have specific feelings to put down, you haven't accomplished anything in your day, perhaps you write about something you want to do, something that you've always wanted to do and never have done. The music that you're listening to right now. Journals and sketchbooks are private. No one else needs to see them. You can let your id go wild. You can put down whatever it is you're thinking, feeling. If you want to have something really violent that expresses a feeling, you put it in there. You're not acting it out in real life. You want to put something really sad, really loving, put it in there. You've got to express yourself as an INFP. You're a creative person. You got into creative things because you wanted to express yourself, and realizing that not everything that you express is going to be positive, helpful. If you express it at all, then you're better off than where you were before, where you kept everything to yourself, where you were being eaten alive by feelings inside. So we've got exploring entertainment options, art forms that are accessible to us even within our bed space. We have sketching and journaling. One of the great things that has helped me in the last 2 months is having my dog nearby. Now, I don't always have my dog nearby because In the last couple of years, I've actually gone through a divorce. The dog lives with my old family, but he is a frequent visitor to my apartment, and when I have my dog over, no matter what I want to say, I can say it to the dog, and the dog's not going to judge me. When I pet the dog, hormones go off on the dog that make him happy, that make him lay on his back and showcase his belly. The dog wants to play. You know, it's very hard to deny the joy of an animal. And my dog usually smells good. He's got really soft fur. So there's like tactile things that can bring me joy. But knowing that I have a non-judgmental living creature to hang out with is such a benefit. You know, no matter what other stuff goes on in my life, the dog doesn't care if I'm broke. The dog doesn't care if I take pictures of him or not. And one of the things that has really made me happy in the last couple of months is drawing pictures of the dog. You know, finding a drawing style that was kind of new to me, but having the dog be my muse when nobody else is around to be an inspirational figure that I can create art with. The dog is here, and it gives me something to look forward to all the time. It definitely makes the nights go better. And if you are somebody who is so paralyzed it's very hard to get yourself out of the bed, knowing that you've got a pet that needs to be fed and taken outside and walked will make you get out of bed. You're not going to let that dog pee and poop all over your house. It's just not going to happen. You're not going to let your pet starve to death. This is something that needs you, and it needs you to be mobile. It needs you to get up and do something. And I tell you what, the first step that you take out of bed becomes the second step, becomes a third step, and so on and so forth. Another actionable step you can do is make a list of the things that are going right for you, because while depression, at least in my case, usually happens not just because one thing went wrong. I can usually deal with one thing at a time pretty easily, whether it's like a car problem, a relationship problem, so on and so forth. It's when a whole bunch of things are going wrong at the same time. And the more overwhelmed you become, I think the more likely we are to give up. When you're not overwhelmed, you're like, okay, solve this problem, blah, blah, blah. Too many problems, and you're not even sure which one to address first, that's when you become paralyzed and overwhelmed. But no matter what is happening wrong, there are things that are going right. And maybe they're going right because they're not going wrong. Meaning, a year ago, I had a car problem. I had an engine that couldn't be fixed. And the Pep Boys I'd taken it to got new engines, put them in. I opened a whole new credit line to pay for this. They never got it right. It was down for 2 months, and I was bicycling and getting rides from the ex, which the first thing I'm happy with. The second thing, didn't like it at all, but you know, we were still friends and we still support each other when we need to. And ultimately, I ended up having no car for 6 months. And that was something that did not go right for me. Made it really difficult to get to work, groceries, be there for my kids, and so on and so forth. But the bicycling actually made me a healthier individual. So if I were making a list of things that were going right for me, getting healthier, physically healthier, was probably top of the list for that. And in this current depressive state, the things that I couldn't do anymore, like photography, well, the other things I could focus on currently were getting certification for a personal trainer, and then once I got that, seeking out a job. And those things have been going right for me, you know? As I stated, I was drawing my dog a lot, and doing all these drawings of him, a story started to form. And so creating comics has always been on the top of my list of creative things I wanted to do ever since I was a little kid. And now I'm actually doing it because of the circumstances I found myself in, not photographing art models, not traveling around with my best friend, but instead drawing my best non-human friend, the dog. I'm able to accomplish a different goal. Physical fitness, journaling, drawing. These are pointing to the things that I'm actually able to control. All of us have circumstances in our life that are outside of our control. Other people's feelings, emotions. Whether your job stays open or not. If you're working for a company, a lot of people during the pandemic found themselves out of work, and they were in industries that they never thought they'd be out of work in, like the airline industry or education, the two jobs that I'm kind of familiar with because of myself and my ex-wife. Whether or not you exercise today, whether or not you ingest healthy food or unhealthy food, whether or not you pick up a pencil and draw, or you journal, all of this is stuff that you actually control. So focusing on the things you can control during your day will remind you that you're capable of making your situation better. I can't change the way other people feel or think. I can't change the way that society works. You can't change whether or not racism, homophobia, misogyny is like a daily part of our experience in society, but you can control what you do to yourself and how you interact with the world. If you focus on all the things you can't control, all the problems of the world, all the problems you have with relationships involving other people, you're not going to end the day in a positive mood, no matter how hard you try. It's just going to wear you down. And then the last actionable steps I have for you are kind of interrelated. Returning to things that you've missed that were part of your life and are no longer part of your life, like a coffee shop that I used to go to and then I hadn't been to in a year. I started going back. People remember me there. They remembered my drink, even though it's been a really long period of time. The movie theater down the street from me that had been closed during the pandemic reopened, and I'm able to go and enjoy movies once again in a theater setting. These things bring me incredible joy. And going along with that, sunlight, comedy, things that naturally get us feeling better. I spend more time in the sun, in the good weather, and I return to a lot of the comedy stuff that made me laugh in the past, and found that, comedian Andy Daly, very funny guy. He has a lot more material out there that I never heard, plus there's all this stuff I hadn't listened to in 3 or 4 years that still cracks me up today, Laughing, taking in sun, vitamin D, going to places I used to enjoy, doing things I used to love doing and haven't done in a long time. This is reminding me that there's always more to life than our present set of circumstances. Your present set of circumstances might suck, and you can explore new things, find new things that you like, new people who you can have relationships with, whether they be romantic or friendship. But there's still stuff in the past that made you feel like this is who I am. Maybe it was a favorite band you loved as a teenager and hadn't listened to in a long time, and found out they had 10 more years of music that you never listened to. For me, that was Muse. I stopped listening to them around 2009. 10 more years of Muse songs and videos and concerts I had no knowledge of. Found it this year and it's made a significant difference in my life. For a friend of mine, loved horseback riding, hadn't done it in 4 or 5 years. Got back on a horse, felt like she never left. There's always stuff that reminds us who we are, what we like about ourselves, what we love about ourselves. Indulge in that. Find new things. Express your feelings, whether they're positive or negative. Be around animals. Let animals guide you. Let them be non-judgmental companions. When you feel like almost everybody else in the world wants something from you, has an opinion that you struggle with, this is my set of actionable steps for the INFP creative to climb out of the hole that they're in. And of course, by very definition, rock bottom, we don't see the light. We don't see our way out of the hole. But I'm here to tell you, as a 44-year-old INFP creative, I'm in a good mood today. And I know by definition, rock bottom means you can't see your way out of a hole. You probably can't talk to other people. I'm here to tell you as a 44-year-old INFP creative that I've been there many times. I've been out of it many times. You get familiar with the feeling. You begin to understand it's going to happen. I know it's going to happen. I have to get through it. I will get through it because I've done this before. And my dog, caffeine, the coffee shop, physical fitness, other forms of art that I can indulge in when I can't indulge in my main creative outlet, my favorite music of the past, finding new music, new sources of inspiration. All of these things, I have to do them all, and I have to do them almost daily, and it gets me going. And then you start to go on dates again. You start to see your weight drop, your muscles form, your drawing skills or writing skills or whatever skills you have improve. You grow in new ways. The world gets better. The weather gets better. Life, it's an ebb and flow. It sucks. It gets better. Hopefully this video found you at a place where it's helpful and you needed to hear some of these things, but I have faith in you. I have faith in all of us that we'll get through whatever it is that's putting us at rock bottom. And I'm sure I'm gonna be there again. You know, rock bottoms come and go. Good times come and go. So best of luck to you, whatever situation you find yourself in today. And best of luck to you in your creative endeavors. Talk to you next time.